Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, folks. It is the one, the only, the Guerrilla coming to you live on this edition of Rogue News ESW. Rogue News ESW, folks, where we are not only the news that you need, but we're also the strategies that. Oh, hold on, let me just take this thing off. Anyway, I got my main man Cowboy working the airwaves, and we also have a free algorithm that's in the description box if you want to learn how to trade from our paid sponsors, AlgoFactory.tech, AlgoFactory.tech. Learn to trade, upgrade. What's the slogan again? Dude, I'm having him like Monday morning.
No, that's okay. It is learn how to, wow, I can't even do it. Learn how to trade like a hedge fund pro.
That's it. Learn how to trade like a hedge fund pro. And with that being said, Cowboy, good morning, buddy. How are you?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing good. Want listeners to know tomorrow after the Ben's Contrarian Corner tomorrow, Ben Kelleran, we have with us a man who needs no introduction. We are talking about the one and only scientist at large, the physicist par excellence. Jet Blake will be here tomorrow, 12 p.m., because there's just too many crazy things happening. You know what's crazy, bro? I actually went back, right? I went on YouTube, and I went back to the Jet Blake interview from I don't know how many, back in December or something like that, right? I started listening to it. This was the show that Jet and I were doing, The Outer Limits, and I went back to it and listening to that, and then watching all the events that were happening. This was like 5 months ago. Cowboy, let me give you the link. Maybe you can post this in the chat
Discord.
Yeah, the Discord as well as the chat over here, the private.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the live chat. Let me put that in there. Bang. Wow. Within the last 2 weeks, when we had earthquakes left and right, earthquake on the New York, New Jersey area, it was a 3.0. We know about the Palisades Fault here. At the same time, there was a 4.3 in Cali. At the same time, there was a massive volcano that erupted in the Kamchatka Peninsula in Russia on the Pacific side of things, followed by a massive volcanic explosion in Indonesia. And I was like, you know what? I got to get Jet back on, because I remember very distinctly him talking about the dark star and the coming cataclysm. This is something that was being tracked by various intelligence agencies all throughout the world, have been tracking the dark star. They know about it. It is a planetoid that is entering our solar system. Some people call it Planet X. What Jet is saying, it's not Planet X. Planet X is something else entirely. It's not Nibiru, as someone thinks. This is actual little planetoid. And also, with some of these anomalies in space, with Oumuamua, whatever that rock is that's heading our way, and 1-3 Atlas or A1 Atlas, whatever the heck it is. There's these two large objects also heading into our atmosphere, using a type of trajectory that is not common or never been used before by asteroids or meteors or comets or whatever, which makes it a very strange anomaly to begin with. So there's a lot of hype around that as well. So I don't know what the fuck is going on, honestly speaking.
I know what this. I mean, there's something, because I got this massive zit on my chin. And
that explains everything, Cowboy.
That's the sign.
That's the sign. That's the sign. The Sicilian scallion. Where do I begin with you, bro? Where do I even start? Anyway, so Jet's going to be on tomorrow. Keep it locked and loaded right here. This is all behind. This is, it's outside my wheelhouse. It's above my pay grade. I don't even know. So I'm going to let the physicist at large, the Max Planck Institute scientist himself, handle all that shit and explain it to you guys. And with that being said, Cowboy, what's going on? How you been? How was your weekend?
That's good, man. It's a pretty quiet day for news. It's the summertime.
Yeah.
And typically you don't get a lot. There's all the gyrations. You got, Ukraine this and Israel that, and the worm is turning, and there's a bunch of stuff going on, but it's almost kind of like a business as usual Monday. I spent the day with family yesterday, had a nice dinner, probably stayed up too late. How was your weekend?
It was good, man. Just low key. A lot of took some of the cars out for a spin. Had some fun driving through the twisties and whatnot. So it was good. It was good.
Well, apropos, because the first story that we're going to talk about is near and dear to your heart. I'm going to just bring it up. I'm not even going to say what it is, but it does have something to do not with dark stars, but with
Prancing
awesome
horses.
cars.
Does it have to do something with prancing horses?
No. Well, yeah, those particular ones. It looks
Ooh,
like
what's going on here?
so So Ferrari, like Goldman calls Ferrari sell-off is overdone. Ferrari shares have plunged since late last week's quarterly results, which, despite reaffirming full-year guidance, reveal plans to ease vehicle pricing. The move sparked concerns among Citi analysts who question whether the luxury sports car maker can maintain its high profitability amid slowing sales volume and weakening price lower. You're all obviously familiar with this market and luxury markets in general, right? Um, what seems to be happening? First of all, if you look at the broader market, we had a bit of a sell-off at the end of the week last week. We had an earnings report, and then Trump fired the person. Um, there were like revisions lower on prior reports, not earnings. What was it? It was I
That
think it was
was
an
the jobs report.
unemployment
Unemployment report, right?
unemployment report. So yeah, it's just stuck on weird terminology there. But so the unemployment was a lot higher than expected, and it actually, I mean,
So
it
Trump
was
fires the lady who was reporting that,
yeah.
and was she reporting that honestly, or she was just doing a revision and it's an honest reporting, and he didn't like the reporting, and so he whacked her.
Well, I mean, the Bureau of Labor Statistics doesn't tell us how they put the numbers together.
No, they never
So
do. That's what
how do you
in
know
a
if she's being
bullshit
honest or not?
economy, like ours, which is like it's all speculative. Nobody knows no one even knows. Like GDP is bullshit. GDP is a bullshit number. I've said this several times. Jim Willie has said it several times as well, and he's got a heavy background in statisticians. God, say that fast. Monday. I'm not my best on Monday, but anyway, 50 over 50% of the GDP of this country is just reshuffled debt. That's all it is. All these assholes out there talking about, oh, we're $37 trillion in debt. No, we're actually much higher. We're about 180 trillion with a T in debt. But go ahead, Cowboy.
No, how dare you count unfunded liabilities, sir?
Evil, pure evil.
The real question is whether or not Ferrari is a nice buy right now. So it says here, and again, I want to ask you some questions about like the luxury market, how luxury items fare during certain times, and whether or not they could be considered either a canary in the coal mine or maybe things aren't so bad. But let's stick to the article for now. It says that Ferrari's race is the ticker.
Love
on
their
that.
stock ticker. Brace
Yeah,
is amazing.
Great ticker. 16% plunge over just a few short days, including its largest single day decline in 9 years on Thursday, which is negative 12% in one day. Potential buying opportunity is what they're saying. They're saying that the sell-off was a bit much. They're saying that there was a panic and everything sold off. So, what do you usually see? And we could track this. I mean, it's
what's Ferrari selling for right now, for sure?
Let's take a look at the chart. After all, that is what I do. Let me switch the screen over, share this tab instead, and let's maximize this screen so people can actually see it. And then let me jump into here. All right, so this will be on the daily chart, and we'll open up racist. Okay, there's Ferrari on the stock exchange. Okay, so Ferrari's been
it's selling at what?
436.
Wow.
So yeah, that was a dump to support.
Yeah.
Ferrari going back to 2024 was kind of bottoming out over and over at 400, and it dumped pretty hard. It gapped down, massive gap down. That's that record day on I believe it was Thursday. So when you see price do this where there's nothing and then price just dumps like that, that's a market open. So overnight everything fell. There was nobody to buy and everybody was selling. So when everybody sells and there's nobody buying, then nothing happens until somebody's willing to buy. So somebody caught the knife down here. Now, whether or not that is going to continue is another story. And usually the charts can tell you what you need to know. Stocks are a little tricky. What I can say here is that, so this is on the,
what's the market cap of Ferrari right now?
Oh, I have to look that up. Give me 1 second.
And the reason why we're talking about this is this is considered, folks, a lot of people are familiar as Ferrari with automobiles and with cars, and of course, and rightfully so. But they are more than anything a luxury mark, right? They are the number one most valued brand and have been for several years in the world. The number one most valuable brand, more than Apple, more than anybody else, it's actually Ferrari. Now, the reason why I bring this up with the sales slowdown, it's kind of like the canary in the coal mine. Right?
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're seeing like high-end shit that's not being sold, that's just sitting there, it's usually a sign that the market is starting to slow, that, luxury buyers are cutting back. And Ferrari is pretty interesting because if you like, for instance, you go to a Porsche dealer, you go to a Lamborghini dealer, you have the money, and if the car is available, you can buy it offhand. Ferrari plays this game with you where you could have the money. You could have $3.6 million for a new Ferrari F80. Okay, that's their new, flagship hypercar, right? But you can't buy it because, number one, it's by invite. And how do you get an invite? How do you get on the VIP list? They make you buy all their stupid, dumb shit, lower-end models for years before you're given the privilege of actually being a VIP, and then you can buy their most high-end models. So if their stock is plunging down, that means guys are not lining up to buy their low-end shit anymore, and are not willing to hold it. There it is. That's the new F80, $3.6 million hypercar, and nobody wants it. It's sold out. Guaranteed. It was invited 299 people or 300, whatever that they made. I don't know what the number is. It's a low production number. It's sold out. It's going to probably sell for double, but nobody's really excited about this stuff because I think what's happening with these hypercars, with the Ferrari F80, the Paganis, the Koenigseggs, and whatnot, I think it's the same thing what's happening with art. You look at like some of this modern art stuff where it's just, at the end of the day, I'm going to be honest with you guys, it's just fucking money laundering.
I did just sell like all of my Bitcoin to buy Hunter Biden's latest finger painting.
Biden's finger painting is amazing. He's Picasso on crack, bro. He's amazing. Picasso, crackhead Picasso over there. But so so when you see the most valuable brand in the world, Ferrari, where they cannot sell any of their base units, they can't move these units, it's a larger indicator of the broader luxury market, which means the wealthy are already sensing something, and they're not putting their money into things like this. They sense what is occurring globally. They're already moving out, so to speak. So this is a major indicator. And that, and the fact that, Ferrari dealerships are the absolute worst. I hate them with a passion. But anyway, not the cars. The cars, there's only a few cars I like from Ferrari. Most Ferrari cars I can't stand. They're just whatever. It's a boomer brand at the end of the day.
From a charting standpoint, right?
Yeah, from a charting standpoint.
At this point, Ferrari is vulnerable. Right?
Very vulnerable.
And so and I can tell you it from a monthly standpoint. Yeah. And those of you at Algo Factory would know what to look for here. But what we're seeing is a pretty nasty divergence in price. So we're looking at a couple metrics here. This is the MACD with some special changes that I've done, some custom changes, and you have a massive disparity here where you have this peak in price. We're going to retrace this back, but you see how things have gone not only from high to low, but from high across the line on this indicator down here. And I'm not going to get too deep into this because people will just not want to see it or care about it. But the fact that this went from green to red and down deep while price actually went up or even stayed flat, that's a big problem. So it's kind of like, and this is how I describe it to people, this is more or less stayed flat. Like, it didn't get bigger or smaller, but that's still a problem. That's a flat divergence. So for anybody who's gone to the gym, this is what it's like. You're pushing that last rep, and you got that last rep up, and you're just putting everything you got into that rep, right? That's right here at this first line where price is just going up and just bombing up, and you got that last rep up, and you pretty much maxed out right there. But all of a sudden, that girl who's the hottest girl in the gym, who you got a crush on, walks by. You're like, fuck, I got to get one more rep up. And you do. You get that last rep, you just, everything kicks in, and you might have even sprained your elbow, but you get it up. You might even need like a spotter to help you. Well, after that, you're not working out for a while. After that, things are going to fall. That's what this is. When you see a divergence, this is like that last push up is this miraculous move that you really shouldn't have been able to do, and you needed help to do it anyway. And a lot of times is that literally, like, the stock should not have continued up like this, and it got some outside help. And one thing to know about like charts and stocks and all this stuff, I'm going to show you something about the NASDAQ, and this is all relative. This is all like part of the conversation. We're not going to spend a lot of time on charts, but I want you all to see the difference between retail and institutional. Now, to put it simply, retail is like all of us, normal people. Institutional money is going to be like your massive asset managers. Now, the technical definition of retail and institutional: retail traders trade for themselves, institutional traders trade other people's money. That's kind of like the simple way of saying it. Well, look, we had the taper, or the what was this thing, the tariff tantrum, and it really actually, there was blood in the water after DeepSeek. We're not going to go too far to that whole story, but we had a massive move down. I think it was like 20 some odd %. And then price moved up really quickly, right? But then you notice that it kind of slowed down right here. Now, if you look at the candles, you have very large candles on the way down. You have large candles up until you hit right about here. We're going to zoom in. And you'll notice that after here, the candles get smaller and smaller, and they get really tiny up here. Okay, well, let these tell a story. And this is what the story probably is. The market like fell. The smart money all bought right here. The smart money bought right here, and then pushed it up. And then they stopped buying. And all this move up is news articles, mom, pop, kids in their basement putting money into the stock. These little tiny candles, that's the cream at the top. And all that smart money who bought way down here, what are they doing up here? They're selling. And they need the dumb money. They need the mom and pop and the kid in the basement playing with their, short squeeze and playing with coals, whatever. They need that right here to get out. They need to sell to somebody, and that somebody is you. And you are buying up here, and they're getting out. So the question is when do they get to play again? When does the market get to deflate and dump, so that the wholesaler, the smart money, the institutionals can go ahead and buy in a little bit lower? And that's just really is the question in the end of it, right? Well, Ferrari is no different. And so there was a massive, massive panic in Ferrari. And the question is, did the smart money just buy right now? Because there's a lot of support for Ferrari out here. Ferrari is a luxury brand. One thing that people don't understand who are not in the world of money is that, like, these economic downturns, they don't really affect the rich people. In fact, the rich people tend to make a lot of money in the downturns. And I think I just explained to everybody why that is. And V the Gorilla, who is even closer to that crowd than I am, I don't know. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, V. Am I speaking out of turn here, or am I making sense?
No, you make perfect sense, man.
So the question,
and here's the other thing that you want to take into account: Ferrari's old money brand. It's old money. Okay, it's a far older company than Porsche. It's a far older company than Lamborghini. It's an older company. It's old money. You go to any of these exclusive car meets, and I got clients of mine that are hedge funds. I get invited to a lot of these events, and we especially like high-end automotive events and stuff like that are like private, and like aircraft hangars and stuff like that. And the majority of the people that are into Ferraris are the older crowd. They're the more established. These are guys that, like, in their 50s and like 50s, 60s, man. These guys are in the minimum of their
60s,
60s,
70s.
60s,
Yeah.
and 70s, right?
Boomers.
And boomers. It is it is the boomer brand. The Lamborghinis is more of the younger crowd. I mean, and then Porsche is just amazing. But so Ferrari, when you see a lot of these older guys, so that's the crowd. It's the guys. It's pretty interesting when you look at Rolls-Royce, when you look at Ferrari, right? Ferrari doesn't really show up to car shows like the New York International Auto Show, the Chicago Auto Show. They don't do stuff like that, right? Sometimes a private dealer might show what they have. When a lot of these elites, when they go yacht shopping or they go shopping for the new G6 private jet, there'll be a Ferrari in there somewhere or a possible Rolls Royce, because at that point it's just a compulsive buy. It's just an impulse buy, excuse me, right? So when we're getting to a level where things aren't moving on the higher end of things, that is a bellwether that there's a greater problem that is in the market. Because look, like Velas even said here in the chats, the very wealthy, the guys who are hiring the quants over at the hedge funds, have far better intel than the general public. Far better intel. They're prepped for downturns far ahead in time. So that's where things lie with on the high end side of things.
Yeah, you ever wonder why your funds out there that everybody invests in, your big mutual funds, really don't do that well? It's because it's their job to lose. It's their job to take your 401k money and be exit liquidity for the smart money who run the game. Now they'll let you win over time. All right, you get to experience the move up in the market that is hiding inflation. Your retirement needs to continue to rise. But how many of these companies are beating the S&P 500? You ask yourself that. Mm-hmm. Take a look at whatever mutual fund your money's going into if you're a 401k person.
Yep.
And ask yourself, what would have happened if you just put your money in the S&P 500?
The S&P 500 smokes any one of your 401k plans, any one of your retirement plans, 10 out of 10 times.
And why is that?
Because that's why I always tell people, like, I want to do my 401k. I'm like, yo, call Gus, get your shit out of there.
Yep.
Grab life by the balls and invest it yourself. Get yourself. I'm this is not investment advice I'm giving out here, but I personally like the Invesco S&P 500 index. The fund. That fund is freaking phenomenal. Pays out beautifully, and outperforms any 401k you could put your money in.
Yeah, no, their 401k is anti-gravity for the stock market. And so those little ticky-tack moves that go up at the end of the cycle that are basically paying for the smart money to get out at the top, that's probably a fair amount of your 401k money.
Yep.
Probably. I know, like you said, a lot of it's retail, right? So just, you have to understand, like, this is not... Do you really think that just giving somebody your money at the end of every paycheck is going to be a good thing?
Yeah. Exactly.
Do you think you can really trust those people to do what is best? I mean, it's probably better than putting it in the bank, right? But at the same time, I'm just letting you know, like, you're being rinsed. You're just being rinsed. Now, learning how to invest, that's a whole nother game. So if you don't know what you're doing there, then you need to seek help, or, take some classes, or, come to Algo Factory if that's for you. Algo Factory is not for everybody, but I can pretty much teach anybody how to do what we do at Algo Factory, as long as you have a junior high school math education. So let's move on from that. Rolls-Royce we're looking at here. Ain't no problem there. Look at Rolls, dude.
Well, they're not just in cars, man. They're in aircraft engines.
Jet engines.
That's their bigger size of the pie, and they make some of the best aircraft engines on planet Earth.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's
Switching, let's switch gears out of these stock charts, man, and let's see what else is happening in the market right now. I mean, not the market, but the broader.
the world. Well, you know
Yeah.
what? Let me see. I got a couple things up here. Now, we're not going to look necessarily at the charts, but Martin Armstrong has given us a decent look at what's going on in the world and geopolitics by.
And this is worrisome. Like I'm not like Martin's an old hat to me, but whatever. And we have our differences, but it is what it is. But go ahead, Cowboy.
Well, no, that's okay. So, look, Martin Armstrong, for those of you who don't know who he is, yeah, he's an old dog and he's a good old guy. I think he's a good old guy. He did get charged by basically the three-letter agency that rhymes with Shmi Phi Blay, and they wanted his Socrates program, and they wanted him to. So he's got a program he wrote that's not not completely unlike Cliff High's whole thing. His Socrates program was predicting things. They're very predictive. And the story is that the three-letter agencies wanted access to that. And he said, no, I'm not going to give you that. I don't like you and I don't trust you. And so they threw him in jail for 8 years without charging him. And so Martin Armstrong sat in jail, and the rumor is solitary. And he had to fight everything and take it to the Supreme Court to get him out because they never charged him. They just threw him in jail. So he's the kind of guy that, sat in jail for 8 years based on principle. Now, if that's the true story, because that's the story I'm told and we're reading about, there may be more to that story than we know. But if that part of the story is true, then I got respect for him. But he's doing a little bit of where I don't like what he's saying here, and this is where I start to diverge. Is that he's doing fear porn, because we've talked about on this channel, and V, I'm going to rely on your expertise here. The future of war. And EM talked about this on Friday, right? Ian Burlingame. And he says 100% chance of nuclear war. And I think that might be either fear-mongering and or a bit of outdated look at what World War III is going to look like. But he's using his Socrates program plus the price of gold, the gold going up like it is. He's predicting nuclear war. And I just want to give us a chance to either, to take an honest look at, do you really expect 100% chance of nuclear war? Like, V, what do you think? Should we throw water on that?
The thing with nuclear war, 100% chance of nuclear war. Before all this shit, I was like, no, right? There's just no freaking way, right? I think there's a 50% chance. Before I was like, there's 100% chance. There's no freaking way there's going to be any sort of a nuclear exchange whatsoever. But I mean, let me take a step back. Let me really look at this with zero emotions attached to it. I think the potentiality exists for somebody to fuck up something somewhere. There's a potentiality for somebody to screw something up. A wrong signal is given, a mistake is made, and there's going to be some sort of an exchange. That potentiality exists. The thing is, like, Trump making that whole bellicose statement, he's moved some Ohio class nuclear submarines off the coast of within striking distance of Russia and so on and so forth. That to me is just like the Russians could give two shits about an Ohio class nuclear submarine and their Trident 3 missiles. America's nuclear arsenal is so obsolete and old and outdated. It's a joke. Like I said before, I have a client of mine who was in part of the nuclear triad, and he's doubtful that even 20% of the nuclear arsenal is even functional. So, but I don't think we have an Ohio class out there either. That's the other thing. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. I'm not sure. But the potentiality for war, I don't think. Let me revise. I don't think there's a 50% chance. There's a 50% chance of somebody doing something stupid, but not on the U.S. side of things. I'm not worried about America doing something stupid. I think we have a good handle on some of the loose ends that we have here in this country, especially in the Department of Defense and the Pentagon and whatnot. I'm more concerned, and Velas could back me up on this one. I'm more concerned about London.
I have video.
I'm more concerned about the French. I'm more concerned about them doing something stupid, and we could possibly see some sort of a low yield, a tactical nuclear response within the European continent. I think the potentiality of that occurs. And I also know, as much shit as the United States likes to talk, this is a fact. If the United States goes against Russia in a conventional war, we would last about 8 days, because that's how many munitions we have left. 8 days worth of actual munitions and arsenal of weapons. And we don't want to do that. We'd have our asses handed to us. No one is beating Russia in a conventional war, period. No one's beating Russia in a nuclear war either. It's not happening. Not happening. So, if there is some sort of a conflagration of some kind, I think the potentiality exists, not for a global nuclear war, but for a potentiality of something stupid happening in Europe. In terms of all the other stuff with Iran and North Korea and China and the Strait of Malacca and the Strait of Hormuz and the One Belt One Road initiative, and all the sanctions, what the U.S. sanctions and tariffs are doing is we are accelerating the building of China's One Belt One Road initiative. We are accelerating de-dollarization because we are weaponizing the dollar. Like you have the I forgot who it was from the Trump administration, who was a moron. I forgot what the guy's name was. Prowler. I forgot what his first name is. Stephen Prowler or whatever. Guy's a communist. Okay, guy was somebody who was literally jerking off to the Soviet Union until they collapsed, and then was in there as a vulture capitalist trying to pillage what was left of the Soviet Empire and trying to sell off its assets. Now you had Prowler, who's now all of a sudden you got we have the dumbest people in the world in government, folks. You got this guy who's making his rounds in the news circles, and all the American news media is literally just jerking off to this guy, right? Stephen Prowler, he's amazing. He's a genius. Guy's a fucking moron. He's an idiot. He's a midwit. But it's midwits like this that create policy. And their policy is thinking that they can go ahead and, we could contain whatever mess we can get the Russians in. And that through sanctions, we're going to destroy the Russian economy. Russian economy will survive any sanction you throw against it. The only thing these sanctions are doing is accelerating de-dollarization, and it's accelerating our demise from the real functional and physical global economy. That's the problem. So how this is going to play out, someone will say, well, this is, Trump's doing this on purpose because at some point he's going to reintegrate America with the global economy, especially with the new multipolar world, and we're going to be a physical economy with physical back. I don't know. Most of the tea leaves right now are reading, we're going to continue blowing larger and larger asset bubbles that are so far removed from their underlying asset and reality that the next thing, all these approvals of with cryptocurrencies being utilized by large institutions in large scale mediums, all of this is about blowing bubbles. I don't see any sort of any real paradigm shift here, except rhetoric. That's all I'm hearing is rhetoric. We're going to cut a trade deal from Canada. We're not going to do it because we're going to make Israel mad. So Israel first, folks. Israel first. So this is where we're at right now. But the potentiality for World War III, no. I think there's enough people within the American military think tanks, the real guys, who know that we'll get blown off the face of the planet if we get into a nuclear exchange with Russia. We'll just lose. It's not how the question is not if we lose, it's how quickly we lose becomes a question. Will we last 8 days? Would it be 5 days? That's more of the question. Same thing goes with China. The Chinese have things that will blow your mind away. We won't win. I mean, they just demonstrated. I don't know if you saw this, Cowboy, but they just demonstrated a shoot down where they tracked a stealth drone that has a lower radar cross section than an F-22. They tracked it with their advanced ACER radars that's on their AWACS planes, and Chinese J-10 fighters with their radars off were able to shoot down that stealth drone using the PL-15 missiles. So there you go, man. It's. I don't think we're going to be involved, but the lunatics in Europe worry me. I'll say that.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Were you there?
Oh yeah, I lost you there. We actually there was a prediction made, and it was a prediction that I sent to you guys just the other day. And so there's a little band here called Men at Work, and they did a video, and we're gonna have a little fun with it here. Hopefully there's audio, and this is how it's gonna go right here. Ready? Let me know if there's audio. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. I gotta pause it because they're gonna do the copyright thing. We'll talk for a second, and then they're gonna. This is how it's gonna happen. I'm telling you. Here's where it goes. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. It's a mistake. Oh, he's got the button open. This is how it's gonna go. A mistake. It's a mistake. Uh-oh, he put the cigarette out on the button. That's probably the level of that's probably the level of competence going on in that particular group. Right. This is an Australian band, and a great band, by the way. Men at Work is so good. Of course, do they have subs in Australia?
Yeah, they're buying American submarines. They had a submarine deal with the U.S.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, no, here it is. And Colin Hay knows he messed up. Here he is. Oopsie. You guys, if you don't know Men at Work, you're missing out. So Armstrong is talking about, and some of the guys in the chat were commenting about what Armstrong's actually saying. Possible false flag, he thinks, in Ukraine. Of course, that's assuming that there actually are subs that we sent out. Now, I don't really know that there are. I think that.
And here's the other thing with Ukraine, right? We're supposed to wanting to end the war in Ukraine. That was the first thing that Trump said. But now we're supporting the dictator who's keeping the war going in the Ukraine. This is I'm sick of it, man. I'm off this train. I really am. I'm done. We're back to being stupid. Now, if my only hope and prayer is that this economy keeps afloat for the next 3 to 4 years, we make enough profit to get ourselves and our families out of harm's way. That's what I'm looking at right now at this point. Back to be square, Cowboy.
I mean, if you're gonna get out of harm's way, then you have to consider what that means and where you're living. That's all I got to say about it.
Yep.
All right. Well, what else we got? Let's see here. Yes. So you mentioned France and Britain, right? And now there's some theories out there. Tom Luongo is ultimately the optimist in a certain way. He's pretty. There's a bit of vitriol coming, which is always fun when Tom does it. He does think that Trump wants to bring Britain out from under City of London Corp. Good luck with that. I hope he's right, and I hope we do it, but I'm not holding my breath. But here's a country in Europe that I'm about to flip the screen to. What a basket case, this place, Germany. Germany is, the military seems to be centered in France and in England, really, Britain, I should say, UK. But Germany was the financial or the industrial powerhouse, right? Yeah. I mean, now, what did you say, V, a couple months ago? They're losing jobs faster than they were in 2008, 2009.
Yep.
So they got record debt, recession, welfare crisis, and what's their biggest concern right now? Take a guess, V. It's a different article, and we'll flash to it. What is their biggest concern over in Germany in the current environment of their the economy falling apart?
Russian invasion.
No.
Well, what is it?
calls grow for nationwide Islamic education in German schools.
Oh, yes. That's what German needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are committed to ensuring that all believers can talk about their faith within schools and receive relevant information about their religion and other religions. Yeah, this is what we need. We need to get out the carpet and pray on it. Look, I don't really have a problem with Islam or whatever. That's fine. Religious freedom. You want to believe in that? Believe in that. I'm not going to stop you, but I don't believe that. If you're going to do religion in schools, you could do all the religions or none of them, right? That's how I see it. Now, if you're in a country like the U.S., if you're in a country in the Middle East, then they're going to do Islam.
Yeah, we don't have enough rap in this Germany, in Deutschland. We need more rap. I sound
Well,
like
I
a
mean,
Frenchman right
when
there.
you're importing look, immigration's a filter, right? So if you're importing people from like Africa or something where it's extremely poor and there's a lot of, there's a lot of Islam there for sure, but in general, when you're importing people who like a lot of them just want to come for a better life and a lot of them just want to work, and I get it, but you're going to get a ton of people who couldn't make it wherever they were. Like, and so they're going to go where the free shit is. And these are not the people you want. I'm sorry. It just is what it is. And then let's just say that you have a far worse goal in mind of impregnating a place with a bunch of fighting age males who may be there to eventually fight. Happening in the US too, just so you understand. This is what Ian was kind of alluding to on Friday, and definitely more than alluding to in his article, is that we have a bunch of people who are here in the US, and I think it's probably even worse in Europe, that you can't get out. I don't care how many deportations have we had. V, have we seen any deportations to speak of since Trump's been in?
And
80,000?
dude, the hell with the deportations. I'm more concerned about the arrests, and there's been none.
Well, there's none of that either.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say here is that they're not going away. Obama was the deporter in chief. That dude deported more than anybody by far. Like, Trump doesn't really deport people. He wants to, but he can't. So he makes a big show of it. He makes a big show of a lot of things. But just so you understand, I don't really see a whole lot getting done right now with all the things that we want to get done. I'm seeing a few things. I'm seeing some wins. Don't get me wrong. We're able to talk about things that we didn't used to be able to talk about. That's good. Are you happy to talk about things, V? Are you happy we can say things now?
Yes.
Isn't that just the most amazing freedom?
Yeah, it's so great.
In the end, freedom of speech is our most important freedom. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm happy that we can have these discussions.
You know what's better than freedom of speech?
What's that?
What's better than freedom of speech is laws that actually work and hold people accountable.
Laws that are enforced.
Freedom of speech. People don't care what the hell we talk about, right? So long as the power structure is not touched. And what's happening here is the power structure is not touched at all, at any point, and no one's going to touch it. People are like, "Oh, Obama's going to get arrested." Everybody remember that whole thing? Oh, Obama's behind Russia collusion.
Yeah,
move right now.
He ain't
Nobody's
getting arrested.
arresting Obama. Nobody's arresting the Clintons. That's never going to happen. That's a fever dream.
That's not going to happen. Yeah, that's the word for it. I was going to say a worse thing, but yes, it's a wet fever dream. Let's leave it at that. Yeah. So look, if you're really concerned about your future, you have to consider where that future is going to be. Right? We talked about this before. I know ESW is coming online here pretty soon, right, V?
Yes, it is.
So if you're going to diversify your geography, where your money is held, we're going to have some stuff to talk about in a big way coming up with that. I think that being in the US is better than being in Europe. I'm not sure, and I know this sounds crazy, that being in the US is better than being in Russia or China. But there are many of us who might not be able to relocate. Perhaps you don't have the money. Perhaps you have wife and kids that just won't do it because, they just don't want to. Perhaps you're taking care of your elderly parents There's a lot of people who can't do that. So there are ways to kind of mitigate, and we're going to come up with some of that soon. In fact, along that line, V, let's maybe end the show with this,
Yeah.
unless there's something else you want to talk about. But
Yeah.
let's just say, you are whatever, you're in your 40s, you're kind of getting ready to take care of your parents, you got some young kids, you're the sandwich generation. There's a lot of that going on. Maybe your 50s, whatever it is, right? Middle-aged person, a lot of responsibility, can't leave. You do have some money. What would you do, just as a brief checklist of mitigating some of the problems that might be coming in the coming years, whether it's attacks, whether it's something goes off in Europe, all the things we just talked about. How would you like say three things you would do?
Three things I would do in regards to what? Like,
Well, so we're talking about to protect your money, to protect your
oh
family.
man, I mean, I diversify my assets. I change jurisdictions. Is a that's a very broad thing. But what were you going to say?
Well, I mean, for me, it's really simple. Yeah, certainly change jurisdictions, which I have done. Diversifying assets, and I'm talking about a scenario where you can't leave the U.S.
Mhm.
That's what I'm trying to qualify here. If I couldn't leave the U.S. because I was taking care of family, then I would be in, like metals. Um, that would be a safer place. I would definitely not be living in a city. All the prepper shit, right? But I'm
Yeah,
trying to think of something that's more creative than all the crap we've been hearing from all the prepper people for the last 15 years. And so I'm trying to get like an outside of the box answer. The stuff that we don't already always talk about on here. V, you got anything for that, or should we save that for another show?
share that for another show.
Because I know you got a whole thing outlined. I just didn't know if you wanted to drop some hints or talk about it later.
Oh no, we'll save that for down the road when we have everything launched out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey man, good show. I know it was not always how do I say this, V? I don't want to be too pessimistic, right? We're just kind of we're showing everybody what's possible, and it doesn't mean it's going to happen. It doesn't mean everything's going to fall apart. But I just wouldn't be holding too much faith in the leadership at this point.
No, I think you're on your own. I think you got to do what you got to do to help your family out, to help your loved ones out, and be in the best position you could possibly be. Because you never know what's coming down the road, man. It could be something small, something major. It's better to be prepared. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, it says. And I think that's what people need to do. Nobody's coming to save you guys. There's no freaking white knights. There's no, white helmets, crash helmets, whatever the hell you want to call it. There's no, Trump is the chosen messiah and, everything's trust the plan and all this other bullshit. It's we're in it, man. And we're back to, back to B square, buddy. Back to B square.
Yeah, we got algofactory.tech. We can help people who are, who want to do such things, extract money out of the markets on a regular basis. And then it takes a minute to learn how to do that. Once you get that, then you have the capability to put your funds in something that you think you can trust, whether it's real estate or gold or Bitcoin or what have you. So there is that link in the description. But I think that's all we got for today. V, you want to get us out of here?
Yeah, that's it. With that being said, folks, we are over and out. Stay tuned tomorrow. It's going to be double packed, double the impact, double impact tomorrow. Ben Kelleran back on the Contrarian Corner, as well as Jet Blake for an Outer Limits episode. You don't want to miss either of them. So keep them locked and loaded right here. Rogue News, ESW. Cowboy, take it away.